Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Prosper Benefit Calculation Submission Functional Training. Our presenter this morning is Richard Feeney, a senior consultant with CGI, the company that, or the vendor that's helping us develop the Prosper application as we work to make it even more functional every day. As a reminder, board members who are attending today, this session does not qualify for educational credits, but we do have two sessions this week where you can earn credit. One is the the buyback interest training this Thursday with Judith Corrigan and our very own John Borick, who is joining us this morning and listening on, as well as the open meeting law training with the Attorney General's office. The handout is available for you to download right now. If you look at the handout tab, you can download the handout if you prefer to have it handy and follow along during the presentation. And we will take questions at the end. You can type the questions as you think of them. There is a questions tab as well where you can type in your questions. And when Richard is done with his presentation, we will start reading off the questions and answer them as best as we can. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Richard. Richard?
All right, thank you, Natasha. So as mentioned, my name is Richard Feeney. I am a senior business consultant supporting PERAC, and I'm here today to help get you started using Prosper's newest feature, the online benefits calculation submission functionality. Today, we will be walking through what this new functionality means to you and how to use it to its fullest potential. All right, let's get started. There we go. All right, so presently, many of you submit your benefit calculations to PERAC staff for review and approval through traditional post mail. However, beginning on November 16th, 2020, PERAC will be directing these submissions online through the Prosper system many of you already use and know on a daily basis. Again, this is only for benefit calculation submissions that require PERAC review and approval. Essentially, any calculations you are submitting to PERAC via postmail now should be used by the new online system going forward on the 16th. Submitting benefit calculations for Prosper is really going to be great for everyone. We're going to see faster time to completion and review. We're going to help reduce a lot of the basic confusion around what documents each retirement method requires, and provide a single location for you to seamlessly track, manage, and archive Prosper benefit calculation approvals. If you have access to Prosper now and can see the disability tab on your left-hand side of your Prosper homepage, then beginning on November 16th, the new benefits section will appear automatically as a new tab selection for you. However, if you do not have access to the disability section or are a new user and need access to Prosper itself, please contact our help desk and complete the Prosper individual account approval application form. All right, here's our agenda for today. So as our training for today, I'm going to be showing you the ins and outs of the new benefit calculation functionality. We're going to be starting at the initial home portal page and then walk you through how to submit a new benefits calculation. We'll end up showing you some key functionality of that submission, such as adding prior boards and how to attach documents. I'll be then reviewing the specific states that a benefits calculation would go through, and then finish with reviewing the letter functionality that you'll see on the approved submissions. So come November 16th, you'll see a new tab on the left-hand side called Benefits. It'll have a little calculator-like icon, and selecting it will open up this new portal page for you. At the top, you'll see a new button to help you create a new submission called Benefit Calculation Submission. And below it, you'll see 3 new card tables that can be expanded to show recently updated submissions within the last 90 days. For an example, if you expand one, you'll see all the rows for all of the recent submissions that have been modified in the last 90 days. Selecting on one of the rows will open that member's application in further details. Each column can be sorted by selecting the header text, either alphabetically or most recent or least recent dates. You can see several of the states here already, but the 4 big states are request not submitted, application has been started, but has been not yet submitted to PERAC. Submitted, application has been submitted to PERAC. Under review, PERAC needs additional information before approving. And finally, complete, PERAC has approved the submission. There's also a way to see submissions that are older than 90 days. On the card table, there's a blue hyperlink text called History. Selecting that will open up a new window, and you'll see in every one of the rows of that card table, all entered retirement benefit submissions, not just those that are older than 90 days, that are under 90 days, excuse me. Now we're going to go back to the benefits calculation portal page, and we're going to enter a new submission. To start, you click that button at the top that I have highlighted, benefit calculation submission. Doing so will open up a new page where you will be prompted to enter the basic information for that submission, the Social Security number, last name, first name, and then some additional information such as retirement type, calculation, date of birth, start date, date of retirement. You might notice when you go into there for the first time that from the retirement type downwards, it is inaccessible. This is because we want you to enter in a Social Security number, enter in a last name and a first name, and if we already have an individual that matches that entered record, we'll try to pre-populate the date of birth, date of death, retirement as well. If we don't, it'll just show up as blank and you can enter as normal. Once all of the required fields have information within them, all the fields with a little star next to them, the next button will become activated and you can go on to page 2. So this is what our page 2 looks like. At the top, you can see the member information that you added. And at the bottom, you can see a calculation checklist, all the required documents that are needed for a successful submission. Before getting into the document attachment, you might see a little add button right there. This is for prior boards. If the individual that you are submitting for had worked at prior retirement boards, we need to know that information. By hitting the add button, a new pop-up will appear on your screen, and the first row in that entry will be your current board, the submitting board. It will pre-populate with the employment start date and end date. You can add additional boards by hitting the blue text, add more boards. This will create a new row at the very bottom. You can remove boards by hitting the remove button to the remove hyperlink text on the far right. Selecting board name will show a drop-down list of all possible boards. You select the one that you need. You enter an employment start date, an employment end date, and then denote if the employee is a 10-month year employee or not. Once this all has been entered, you hit save, and you'll see under prior boards, new entries for the entered boards now appear. Starting with the board's name, the first date is going to be the start date, membership date. Second date will be the end date. And then if it's a 10-month year, it'll be 10-MO with a period. All right. After we've done that, we need to attach the required documents for the retirement benefit calculation submission. You go down to your page 2 and you can see a benefit calculation submission documents card table with several rows in them. This is a checklist that will show what required documents we need. If it has a red stop sign in the complete table, that denotes that we need this to move forward with it. To attach a document, you select the blue text and a pop-up will appear. This will look very familiar to those that have used the DT or MPR functionality in Prosper now. It'll prompt you to attach the full document. You do so by hitting Add Attachment, and a second pop-up will appear called Attachment Upload. Attaching the document, and then hitting Enter and hitting Submit again will attach the file. One common question we had was, if I have one singular PDF document that contains all the information I need for submission, do I need to break it apart, or do I need to upload it multiple times for each row? Well, you don't. What you can do is you can upload the single document once, and then you go into the other rows, and rather than uploading a new attachment or uploading the same attachment multiple times, you check the box marked Override Required Attachment. Doing so will update that row with a green success checkbox, but it will not show an attachment. It will show the text override to denote that this has been an override required attachment, and to let the PERAC actuarial staff know that the required information is in an already attached attachment. Once all of the required rows have a document attached or have been known as override, the submit button becomes activated and you can select it. Doing so will allow you to submit the application to PERAC. Once you do so, you'll see, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, a green success submit note. Another question we had is, do I need to complete a submission in just one go? Well, no. You can leave your browser window and come back to it later, and submissions that have been started but not yet submitted will have a status of request not submitted. This is actually pretty handy if you have multiple individuals that need to work together to complete a submission. All right, what happens next? So after submission to PERAC, the corresponding member row will appear in the benefits calculation system with a status of submitted, and a PERAC staff individual will review it. However, if there are any issues with that submission, PERAC staff may set it to under review. This denotes that someone from PERAC needs to have some additional information before approving. Upon selecting a under review submission, you'll see at the top what the concern was with that submission. In the example we have here, we denote that the attached document is not the correct calculation worksheet. Submissions put under review can be changed and updated as if they were in the prior state, the request not submitted state, or a submission, if it isn't quite suitable, can be withdrawn. If a submission needs to be withdrawn for whatever reason, at the very bottom of your submission, there's a button called Withdrawn. Doing so will remove the submission from the normal benefits calculation submission table and display it within the withdrawn table. One thing I'll note is you can only withdraw a submission when it is in the request not submitted or under review status. If it has already been submitted to PERAC, we ask that you contact the PERAC actuarial unit if you do need to withdraw at that state. And finally, after the PERAC staff reviews a submission, it will appear with a status of complete. This means it's been successful and been approved. Within a complete status submission, a new table will appear called the Benefit Notification and Documentation. This contains the PERAC board approval letters that were historically sent through the post mail. So remember we had the prior boards before. If your specific board was denoted as a prior board, then you also will receive a letter. You'll receive a 3.8C letter. This is a new table within the portal page below the withdrawn table. Upon selecting a specific individual, you'll see a smaller version of that text. Actually, am I the wrong one? It looked like this. If you're selecting an individual, you'll see for 3.8c member stuff, you'll see a smaller window on the, as we see here on the right-hand side, and it will show very specifically the board, prior board approval letter, as well as the individual calculation checklist that was attached for that 3.8c letter. To back up one quick step, if you were actually the submitting board, you'll see all of the 3.8c letters as well if you denoted prior boards there too. So here, as a submitting board, if you had prior boards, you see 3.8c letters. And if you were a prior board, you'll see a new section called 3.8c member receipts that will show, if you were denoted as a prior board, that information for the 3.8c letter calculation, as well as the calculation checklist. All right, let's actually go ahead and submit one in our live system. So here's our test account. Let's log in. Might take a second. All right, so this is our PERAC homepage. You might already notice that there's a new icon called Benefits right here. Let's select it. Takes us right to the Benefits calculation portal page. As mentioned, we have our little button to start a new one right here. And we have our 3 card tables: benefit calculation submission, withdrawn, 3.8c member receipts. If we expand this by hitting the plus sign, we can see all of the recently submitted or in progress or completed submissions that have taken place within the last 90 days. If we want to sort by them, we click on the text right here, and it sorts by, in this case, not submitted to recently submitted. If I select one, it will open up a new window and it will show me that specific submissions information, as well as all attachments for it. Let's go back. Let's try making a new one. We're going to go again here to benefit calculation submission. Select that. As you can see, we have social security number, last name, first name. I can't select any of the retirement type information. That's because we want to enter in the social security number first. I'm just going to put in a random number here first. One that I know is not in record. Last name, we'll just go with, I don't know, Smith. And we'll go with Daniel. Now Prosper will process for a second here. And it says, oh, okay, I don't know of anyone with that social security number. I don't know of anyone with that name. There are no matches. So I can't automatically populate any information, but go forward with the next section. We have retirement type. Select this, and a large drop-down listing all possible retirement types appears. Let's just do superannuation C. That's one of the most common ones. Let's select that. It'll prompt me, hey, if you have any questions about what retirement method should apply, please contact PERC before completing this page. We're gonna hit all right, okay. For calculation, we have our options of pre or post 4 to 2012. We'll make this a pre 4 to 2012. It's not a 10-month year, we'll leave that as no. For date of birth, let's just put in a number of 1968. That's a good year. For employment start date, we'll just do, how about 1980. That's a good year too. Date of retirement, let's just do 10/1/2020, something recent. And we'll leave date of death blank. So once all the required fields have information within them, this next button becomes ungrayed out is now active. You can select that and go to page 2. All right. So as you can see here, all the information that we entered on page 1 now appears here. We have our uniquely generated benefit calculation submission checklist document down here. We have a little add button here to add additional prior boards. Let's go ahead and do that. We select add. We see the submitting test board at the top, the information we entered for start date and end date. We're going to hit add more boards to add one more board. All right, let's just pick a board. Let's do Middlesex County. Select that. For start date, we'll just do, you know what, let's do 1-01- we'll do 1979. We'll say this individual worked for about a year. So 12/31/1979. And we'll put this as a 10-month year. We can remove this row if we need to by hitting the remove button. We can add additional boards if need be by adding more boards. But for our example, this is pretty easy and simple, so we'll go with this. We'll hit save. And under prior boards now, the entry that we entered now appears. The start, our membership date, the end date, and a little blurb after knowing 10-month year. We can go back into this and add more, but I think this is okay for now. Scrolling down a little bit, we have our checklist. We have annuity saving fund details, anti-spiking worksheet, calculation worksheet, proof of prior service, and another attachment if we need to add any additional documents. Let's just go to calculation worksheet for now. Select that. New pop-up shows up, showing me some basic information about the submission and prompting me to upload the full document. We're going to do that by hitting add attachment. From attachment upload, we're going to hit browse to select a file. I have a template document that I'm going to use just for this. I'm going to select it. You can hit open, but naturally you would navigate to wherever you would need to go to get your document. Hit open. I know it's successful because text now appears here. I'm going to hit add attachment. And now this is now populated with the template document that I have. And this little icon to the note and attachment is there. That looks good. So we're going to hit save. All right. Now when I look at calculation worksheet, I can see a green checkbox under complete and an attachment. If I want to review the attachment again, I can just select this. Now, let's just say that this calculation worksheet contained all the information. One document that had the anti-spiking worksheet, the annuity savings fund details. I don't need to upload any more documents. I still need to note these as completed and reviewed. So what I do is I select the blue text. The pop-up screen for an attachment appears again, but instead of hitting add attachment, I'm going to select override required attachment. The attachment text goes away, and then I'm going to hit save. Now, when I look at that row for annuity savings fund details, it's marked as complete, but instead of an attachment icon appearing here, now it just says override. We're going to do the same thing for the anti-spiking worksheet. I'm going to select it, going to hit override required attachment, attachment goes away, hit save. And for proof of prior service, we're going to select that. You know what, we'll do this as a unique one more time. We'll hit add attachment. We're going to hit browse. We're going to navigate to where our required attachment location is. We're going to select it. You can hit open. It'll appear up here. We hit add attachment. Our attachment template appears here. This looks good. We're going to hit save. You might see down here, submission is grayed out. We can't select it. But upon hitting save, and now having all of the rows that previously had a red stop sign, now having a green checklist, now the submit becomes activated, and we can select that. Doing so now shows us at the top, a green submitted form was successfully submitted. Notification for us. Let's go back to benefits. Now let's look at a completed one. Let's go to benefit calculation submission again. We're going to expand this. Here I can see several submissions already have been entered or submitted. I'm going to take the one by a Rachel Green that has a status of completed. I'm going to select that one. And when I look down here, this one individual had no prior boards. So they only have one approval letter. And if I were to select the attachment here, it would show the same approval letter that was sent to me by postmail. I can also look back and see what information was originally attached with the submission if I was curious about what originally we provided to PERAC. Let's go back to benefits. Going to expand this one more time. We're going to look at this individual by the name of Gunther. Now, Gunther has several letters right here. He has his board approval letter. However, because he had multiple prior boards listed for him, one for state, one for Boston, there are multiple 3/8C letters that have also been attached. These 3/8C letters went to their corresponding boards. However, as the submitting board, I also get this in my letter notification document sheet so that I know what 3/8C information was sent to those boards. Going to go back to benefits one more time. We're going to look at 3/8C member receipts. Going to expand it. Now I have one submission right here, Mr. Joey Tribbiani. If I select that, now this is if we look here for the submitting board, Middlesex County did their own submission. They were the submitting board for this. However, they listed our test board here as a prior board. As a result, we, as being a prior board for this, we will receive a 3/8C letter, as denoted right here, as well as the calculation worksheet of that submission right here. Okay. With that, the last thing I will show you is the history button. You'll see it right here. As mentioned, the rows on the main portal page show submissions that are 90 days and younger. If I hit history, however, I will see all submissions younger than 90 days and older than 90 days. And if I want to be able to search for a specific submission, I can do so. Typing just green, hit search, and it will show the one submission here. All right. Now that is everything I wanted to cover. Thank you guys very, very much. Did we have any questions?
Yes, we have a few questions here. So let me start reading them off. Okay, the first one, once you select save and realize you need to edit, what is available if an edit is required?
Excellent question. If you, well, they're all great questions. If that does happen, the PERAC actuarial staff will see that notification as a submitted record on their behalf. When that happens, you need to actually inform them, hey, don't look at this submission, don't get started on this submission, please mark that submission as under review. Upon marking it as under review, it will appear in this selection right here. We'll take one called under review, we'll open it up. They'll put something that's just like, here you go, back to editing, nothing wrong, please continue. And you can go back here and make updates, make change as you need to.
Okay, thank you. I thought, oh, hold on, I cleared the screen. I thought we did not need to submit the anti-spiking worksheet if the member is under a collective bargaining agreement.
John, you here?
Oh, I am here. Hold on. So you do not need to submit the anti-spiking form for someone who's caught under a collective bargaining agreement. In that case, there on the anti-spiking worksheet, you would just click on override for us, and maybe put a note somewhere that the member is part of a collective bargaining unit if it's not already clear. But you're correct. If the member is covered by a collective bargaining unit, you do not need to submit the anti-spiking worksheet.
Great, thank you. How long does the award letter and 3/8C attachment stay on the history screen? 30 days, 90 days?
On the history day screen, it will show indefinitely. History screen will show indefinitely. On the main portal page, it only is the most recent 90 days.
Okay, thank you. Is the employment start date on the first screen of the submission the member's creditable service date?
It is, and I'm going to talk with John because we had that question last time. We're going to more than likely edit that to say membership date. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I didn't catch this one. The presentation keeps freezing at my end. That could have been a connectivity issue. Apologies
Okay.
for that. If prior boards and dates are listed on the annuity savings details, do we need to add them to the calculation sheet?
If it is in annuity savings, if it's in your PDF, then yes, you do need to also submit or type it in again as a part of the submission. We need that information to denote to the prior boards digitally through Prosper. So we do need the boards to enter that.
Can you describe what a 10-month year is?
Yes, a 10-month year is specifically for certain employees that only would work not the full year, such as a teacher, education janitorial staff, someone that's not at a full 12-month year cycle. There are certain calculations that the PERC actuarial unit differentiate this information upon.
Occasionally, we will submit a request to recalculate a 3/8C. Do we submit those requests through Prosper or still mail in? Also, will the recalculation approval be on Prosper or will it be mailed?
As of the 16th, this system will be the de facto system going forward with. If you do have a submission that you are submitting again, a resubmission, you can do that. You can enter in a John Smith today, and then 2 years from now, enter a John Smith again, and the most recent will be your resubmission. There's no, and both submissions will appear within the system, but the most recent one will be hopefully approved, and that will be your active submission.
Okay.
All right, Richard, this is John here. I'm just going to follow up on that. The method that they were talking about is not specifically a recalculation of an entire benefit. Okay. So this is something that we'll have to talk to in more detail when things start to get worked out. It may not be available in phase 1. It may not be available until phase 2 or phase 3.
Okay.
But specifically what they're talking about is when we send back the 3/8C letter to the other boards, sometimes they dispute the amount based on different pay levels. Yeah. So in that case, we would review the amount of the 3/8C and more often than not would send back a revised 3/8C amount. So we'll have to talk about how we want to handle that going forward. Okay. But it would be slightly different than just a revised calculation due to a retroactive pay or something like that.
Okay. All right. Let's take that offline. We can talk about that further.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
If you have an option C who needs to pop up to A, what should you check as retirement option? Do you still need to submit the original approvals and calculations when you submit?
Well, the original approval and calculations should already be within Prosper. So they're already going to be there. I'm guessing this is similar to what I said before. If it's a resubmit, you would just submit it as the required retirement method type.
Okay, Richard, this is John again.
Mm.
I'm not sure if we talked about this, but adding
Yeah.
a new method type specifically for pop-up.
Mm.
So if you have an option C record that needs to pop up to option A, I believe the intent was on that drop-down menu, there would be an entry for a pop-up.
Okay, we can add that as well. Okay.
Okay, next question. How do I know if employment in a prior city or town is 10-month or not? That information is not always forwarded from town to town.
Right, I'll take this one.
Please.
Good thing you're
More
on today, John.
Yes.
More often than not, that information will be included on a transfer document from one board to another, or a board will indicate that the service is based on a 10-month year. So I would assume in the absence of any information, we would assume it's on a 12-month year.
Okay, thank you. Will there be a process of notifying us that another board has calculated a benefit for a former member and a 3.8C letter is now created?
Yes. Right now, the system will provide a notification if it is set as under review. As of go live, it will not provide you with one for a 3.8C letter. However, that is one of the highest priorities we have in the next coming weeks, and it's an excellent feature we're working on.
Okay, I think this is more of a comment to the prior question. It just says no when it is no when it is multiple towns. So.
Yep, that we're definitely working on notifications for 3.8C.
Okay. I have a retro raise due to contract settlement, and so the calculation needs to be redone. If I submit it via Prosper and gets populated, do I just override it? Will the originals and recalculated award letter both be shown on Prosper?
If it was done previously through the older system where it was not done through Prosper, then no, not at this time. We do have a future phase where we are planning on bringing in the legacy submissions. But after you start using the system, once you enter it once, it'll appear, and then if you resubmit again 2-3 years down the line, you will be able to see the first entry and the most up-to-date entry. Yeah, that's I'm not 100% understanding the question, but yeah, at a future day, we do hope to bring in some legacy information.
Okay, thank you. All right, that was it for the questions. We had quite a few comments appreciating your selection of names.
A lot of friends out there.
Yes. So thank you for adding that to it. And thank you, Richard. This was a great presentation. Hopefully people are excited about this new feature. Okay. And you keep mentioning the 16th. The 16th is today, so this is live today. So you guys can go ahead and start playing around with it and provide us with some feedback. We do have a survey that you will receive through your email. It's a link to for you to give us an opportunity for you to give us some feedback on not just today's presentation, but on this feature. You can give us some comments on that, and we would appreciate you giving us your input. As a reminder, again, this webinar is not for credit. So those of you joining live will get the email for the feedback form. The presentation will be posted to our website next week for anyone who was not available to watch it live or who wants to just give it another review. And hopefully a lot of you will join us this Thursday for the buyback interest presentation with Judith and John. Richard, I don't know if you had any other closing comments.
Thank you guys for being here.
Great. All right. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.